Welcome to Learning English with Capt Binoy Varakil, Assistant Professor, Department of English, St. Joseph's College, Devgiri, Kozhikode, Kerala. We learned about the Gothic novels and we know the important features of Gothic novels. Today we look at the story of the first Gothic novel in English, The Castle of Otranto, a Gothic story. The Castle of Otranto is written by Horace Walpole. Let's hear the story, The Castle of Otranto. The Castle of Otranto is the story of Prince Manfred and his family, which include his wife Hippolyta and his son Conrad and his daughter Matilda. The story begins on the wedding day of Manfred's son Conrad. Conrad is getting married to Princess Isabella. Unfortunately, the wedding does not take place. As Conrad is walking to the place where the marriage is to take place, a huge helmet, falls on the head of Conrad and he is crushed to death. There is a great crowd. This crowd has gathered to attend the wedding function of Conrad and Isabella. Among the crowd is a very handsome young person. His name is Theodore. And Theodore he thinks that the helmet that falls on the head of Conrad is the helmet from the statue of the founder of the empire, that is Otranto. Otranto's founder is Alfonso, and he thinks that this is the helmet of the statue of Otranto's founder Alfonso. Now Manfred is very sad and angry, although he has no reason to think that Theodore is responsible for the death of his son Conrad. He imprisons Theodore, and now Theodore is in prison. The death of his son terrifies Manfred, that a prophecy that the castle will pass on from their family is beginning to come true. He thinks that he will have to give up the throne of the Castle of Otranto. Manfred plots to divorce his wife Hippolyta, and he thinks that he will marry Isabella. He is just getting ready to divorce Hippolyta under the reason that on the grounds that she has failed to bear him a proper heir, and he is preparing to marry Isabella. Now that the son Conrad is dead, he thinks that it is because of Hippolyta, and he says that he is going to divorce her. He comes to Isabella and he tells Isabella that he wishes to marry her, or he is decided to marry Isabella. Isabella is horrified and flees to a passage under the castle of Otranto. Under the castle, she meets Theodore. Theodore has escaped from the prison and he helps her to escape to a nearby convent. Theodore helps Isabella come to the convent, and she is in a convent. She is safe there. But Manfred is searching for Isabella, and he continues his search. He is searching far and wide everywhere in the castle, and he confronts Theodore in the vault of the castle. Theodore says he has no knowledge of Isabella, but Manfred's pride and rage is increasing. Matilda hears Theodore's woeful song, and she comes to Theodore, who is again imprisoned. And Matilda is admiring the young peasant Theodore's piety, and she is developing a kind of infatuation for Theodore. Matilda, the daughter of Manfred. And she is wondering if she can help Theodore. Now we have another character, and that character is Father Jerome. Father Jerome arrives from the convent and assures Manfred of Isabella's safety. Now that Manfred is searching for Isabella, he wants to marry Isabella, and he hasn't found her. He is very angry, and he is just asking everyone to look for Isabella, and comes Father Jerome. Father Jerome tells Manfred that Isabella is in the convent and she is safe, and now Father Jerome knew that Manfred was getting ready to marry Isabella, and Father Jerome tells Manfred that this marriage between you and Isabella will offend heaven. It's against the wish of heaven. Manfred orders the execution of Theodore. Now Manfred is angry with Theodore, and he is ordering the execution of Theodore. Now Theodore is brought in front of all the people there, Manfred, Father Jerome, and all the other important people there. And as Theodore is removing his dress, his shirt, Jerome recognizes a birthmark below his shoulder and identifies him as his son, which is his son who is lost many years ago. Theodore then is the son of Jerome, who was once the Count of Falconera before his house was ruined and he returned to religion. Jerome begs for his son's life, and Manfred offers to spare Jerome's son Theodore in exchange for the release of Isabella. So Isabella is in the convent. Isabella is under the safety and protection of Father Jerome. So now Father Jerome is threatened by Manfred that unless and until you release Isabella, you give Isabella to me, I will execute your son Theodore. Very soon there enters a herald, a messenger, and the messenger proclaims that a great knight has arrived to rescue Isabella. So we have one more character, a knight. A knight has come to save Isabella. Now the lustful Manfred invites the mysterious knight, who has just kept his face under cover, and nobody sees the very face of the knight who is coming to save Isabella. And the conversation between Manfred and the knight ends, and the search for Isabella recommences. So we have one more character, the knight, and the knight is there to help Manfred search for Isabella. So now we have Matilda. Matilda helps Theodore, and Theodore is freed from imprisonment, and he is given weapons, and he arms himself to flee the castle. So Matilda and Theodore become close. Theodore is now free. He has arms with him. Now he is also out. Theodore finds Isabella in the woods, and he hides her in a cave, and he vows to protect her. The great knight arrives and demands the girl, but Theodore thinks that an ally of, an assistant of Manfred, and they just engage in a battle. So now we have a battle between Theodore and the knight, the mysterious knight who is again in search of Isabella. And in this battle between Theodore and the knight is wounded very seriously. And the knight is revealing his identity to Theodore, and everybody knows the fact that the knight is Frederick, Isabella's father, who was dead, or rather who was believed to be, who is presumed to have dead in the Holy Land when he engaged in the Crusades. Isabella weeps over the very miserable, wounded, bleeding condition of her father, and Theodore helps her take him back to the castle. Now the knight Frederick, Isabella's father, is taken to the castle of Otranto. Back in the castle, Frederick's wounds are declared to be less worrying or not too serious, and Manfred convinces Frederick to wedding Matilda if he is ready to permit Isabella and himself get married. So now we have, of course, a mutual understanding between Frederick and Manfred. Frederick will marry Matilda, Manfred's daughter, and Manfred will marry Isabella, Frederick's daughter. So this is the kind of arrangement or agreement between Manfred and Frederick. So Frederick is rather unsure initially, but he is, of course, very, very attracted to Matilda, and he agrees. So Frederick is also ready to marry Manfred's daughter. Now Manfred tells Hippolyta is Manfred's wife, and he tells Hippolyta the truth about his plans, and ever the dutiful wife of Manfred, she seeks counsel from Jerome about a divorce. Manfred told Hippolyta that he is planning to divorce her, and she comes to Jerome. Father Jerome is, of course, the biological father of Theodore. And Hippolyta tells Matilda about her planned nuptials to Frederick. That is, of course, Hippolyta tells Matilda that Matilda will be marrying Frederick. Her father has made such kind of arrangements for she and Frederick to marry. And by this time, Matilda realizes that she is deeply in love with Theodore, and she is very, very dismayed and disappointed to understand the fact that her father Manfred is getting ready to get her married to Frederick. And now Manfred believes that Isabella will be meeting Theodore for a tryst at the church. He thinks that there is going to be a meeting between Isabella and Theodore, and he too goes to the church. He takes a knife with him, a dagger with him, and there is, of course, he comes to the church, and there he saw Theodore and Isabella standing very close to each other. He comes very, very silently behind Isabella, thinking that is Isabella. He stabbed her, but it was not Isabella, it was his own daughter Matilda, who was deeply in love with Theodore, and she is very seriously wounded by her own father and she dies. Now Manfred is very, very shattered and battered, and he is very upset, and the shock is just reverberating through the family and everyone else. Theodore is eventually released, and it is declared that Theodore is the true Prince of Otranto. And now, with the death of Matilda and the grieving Manfred, he is very, very repentful. He is full of repentance. He undergoes a lot of change, and he abdicates his right to the throne, and he of course gives up his principality and retrieves into, of course, religion. So now he is very repentful, and he gives up the throne, and he retires into religion, and he and his wife Hippolyta lead lives of prayer, devotion, and meditation. At last, the story ends with the marriage of Theodore and Isabella. He becomes the prince, and Isabella becomes the princess, right? They just get married, and she is the only one who can truly understand the sorrows of Theodore, and there is, of course, the happy ending of the marriage of Theodore and Isabella. But we have to understand the fact that this is a Gothic novel, and there is so much of supernatural interferences, lot of bloodshedding, lot of unexplainable incidents, but the story at last ends in a happy note. This is the summary of the Castle of Otranto. Please don't limit yourself to the story alone. It's a wonderful novel, beautiful novel. Get a copy of the Castle of Otranto and read it for yourself. Thank you very much for listening. May God bless you.